First Lady Jill Biden welcomed the First Lady of Ukraine to the White House. She's set to deliver remarks to Congress tomorrow morning. ABC's Patrick Rebel joins us now from Kyiv. Patrick, good to see you, friend. How significant is Putin's visit to Iran? What are the long-term implications if the relationship is further strengthened?
Hi, Kenneth. Yeah, that visit has just actually wrapped up in the last little while. Putin met with Iran's President Raisi as well as Turkey's President Erdogan. And, this is actually only the second time that Putin has left Russia since the war against Ukraine began. And I think it's important for a few reasons. I mean, one, President Putin is clearly trying to show that he is not isolated despite the huge efforts by the West. And so this visit to Iran is intended to show that he's a global statesman. And it was focused on Syria. The talks were focused around Syria. And the idea was to show, I think, that Russia and not the United States is the key player in that conflict. But, at the same time, I think Putin was coming with a very practical goal when he came to Iran as well, because right now Russia needs Iran. And that's because in many ways, Iran is almost a model, really, for where Russia is headed right now. And that is a country that is very heavily sanctioned by the West and that is in very many ways isolated from much of the world. And so Russia from them needs several things, really. One is the ability to try and circumvent sanctions. And I think they're interested in the tactics that Iran has used. And the other thing is that President Putin is hoping to try and get hundreds of attack drones for use here in Ukraine.
Yeah, and the former Ukrainian mayor also in Mariupol is accusing Russia of imprisoning more than 10,000 Ukrainians in filtration camps near the occupied city. What's the latest on that, Patrick?
I think this goes to one of the things that we know Russia has been doing, which is since the start of the war, it's been moving hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians to Russia from occupied territories in Ukraine. We know the U.S. has estimated that between 900,000 to 1.6 million Ukrainian citizens have been brought to Russia. And the way this has been taking place is that basically Russia is using something called filtration camps. And that's where Ukrainians trying to leave these areas, often that are under shelling, they attempt to exit the country and they're being sent through these camps. And basically the Russians then check people. They check men for tattoos, for example. They check people's phones to see whether there might be any kind of something that suggests that the people being checked support Ukraine or if there's any anti-Russian messages. And so what we know so far is that the mayor of Mariupol is saying that around 10,000 people are being held in these camps and that there's no medical care there, as there isn't really in this destroyed city anyway. Right now we have very little information about that area, though, because it's so difficult to get information out of occupied areas in Ukraine.
And 5 months into this thing, so many innocent lives lost. How's the fight going for Ukraine?
So, Russia is continuing to try now and mount a new offensive in eastern Ukraine. But the big question that people are really starting to ask is whether Ukraine is going to be able to mount a counteroffensive in the south and try to start retaking territory down there. Ukraine has said it will do that. But the question is really whether Ukraine is able to. Today, though, we did see something interesting. We saw a missile strike on a bridge near the occupied city of Kherson. And that bridge is one of the things that we would expect to be destroyed if Ukraine was ever to try and go on the offensive. And so what we're seeing right now is basically Russia also trying to move forces down into that area to brace for a possible Ukrainian offensive. And really, that's going to be one of the big questions of this summer. Is Ukraine able to mount a major counteroffensive and try and take back territory? And if it is, that will start to reverse this war. And if it can't, of course, that suggests that the war is going the wrong way for Ukraine. And that suggests that we will be heading eventually to some sort of kind of bloody stalemate.
And Patrick, when you were with us yesterday, we spoke about the fallout from Ukrainian President Zelensky's removal of his intelligence service chief and prosecutor general suspected of treason. What more do we know?
So today, Ukraine's parliament removed those two officials. It voted to back President Zelensky's decision to remove them. One of the things we've been learning just from reading Ukrainian media is that there is quite a lot of internal politicking around these figures. The head of President Zelensky's intelligence service, the SBU, Ivan Bakanov, basically had a very tense relationship with Zelensky's, one of his top aides, Andrei Yermak. And it appears that in some ways this is a fight that's been going on for a long time, and that it seems that now this chief of staff within President Zelensky's administration has succeeded. And I think that's been a bit jarring for people because it's been a kind of return to kind of the rough and tumble everyday politics that you have normally outside of wartime. And I think the Zelensky government now will try and move very quickly to try and just move beyond this chapter and try and close it.
All right. Patrick Rebel there live in Ukraine. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.